Hi, Sasha.
Go.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You seem nervous. What's up?
I'm not nervous.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me into your hotel room.
Thanks for coming into my creepy room.
It's not a creepy room. It's a
It's
lovely
nice,
room.
right?
It's
We're
a
here
lovely
in
room.
New York City, and I love it here. It's so nice.
So you are traveling around like a madwoman at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of life outside of WWE? Because it's a crazy schedule, right?
It is really crazy, and I don't really think I do have a life, because when I come home, which is like a Tuesday night, I still hang out with Bayley and Danilo, the ref from NXT with the crazy eyebrows. We always hang out on our Tuesday. We either have Taco Tuesday night, or we go to his house and we watch SmackDown. And it's so crazy. That's my life. Every Tuesday, I still hang out with them, even though I see them all the time. And Wednesday is just kind of my day. I just do laundry and run errands. And Thursday, I pack and head back on the road. That's my normal life.
You still do your own laundry?
Of course.
That's a disappointment.
No one can wash my own underwear. That's
No,
gross,
that's
dude.
Fair, that's fair.
People are creepy, you know?
So it's fair to say you kind of live and breathe
Wrestling.
this industry.
Yeah.
We were there at your radio interview you did. You've been going around New York doing press for this big match on Sunday. And you talked about how you don't really like cameras being in your face.
Yeah.
So that bodes well for this documentary. But so then I have to ask, why this life? Why did you work so hard to get to this
It's so
point?
crazy, because it's legit. Like, I am Sasha Banks is this larger-than-life character who's, when that camera's on and that red light's on, it's turned on. I'm 100% like this larger-than-life character, but when I come home and it's just no cameras around me, I'm this private, shy girl who just feels like this 10-year-old who just got to live her dream and get to live her dream every single day. And it's so crazy that I'm complete opposite of what my character is that you see on WWE, but I am my character that you see on WWE, just turned up 1,000%. It's everything that I wish I can be in the normal life. And I think Sasha Banks actually helped me with my confidence in life. Before, I was such a shy person. If I got an order wrong at Starbucks, I would be like, that's okay. But now if it's like, no, that's not right, dude, make it right, you know? And so she just, Sasha Banks gave me the confidence to be like, stand up for yourself, and you know, if something's not right, you gotta speak up. And it's so crazy. I hate the cameras on me, but at the same time, I love performing in front of them. It's weird.
And so you talk about you being a shy kid. Take me back to the beginning. Like, what was your childhood like, and how did you get into what spurned this love of wrestling?
I didn't have an easy childhood. I wouldn't even call it a childhood, because I have a brother with autism and tuberous sclerosis complex, which is a tumor in his heart and his brain. So my whole life was just taking care of my brother. I always felt like I was an adult at the age of legit 3, just always taking care of him and watching over him, and not ever really having, you know, a childhood until I was 10, and I was living in Iowa at that time, and there was nothing on TV but WWE. And I turned it on, and I was instantly hooked. I was like, what is this? This is so cool. And I remember my mom coming in the room, and she was like, this is not okay to watch. You can't watch this. You need to turn this off. You need to go to bed. I said, okay, Mom. She left my room. I snuck into my brother's room. I turned on WWE, and I continued watching it. And ever since that moment, I kept watching WWE every single week, because there was something about it that I was just so intrigued. I can't really tell you what the one thing that it was where I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm hooked. This is what I want to do. And the moment I saw it, I was just like, this is what I want to do in my life. I want to perform. I don't know if it was just the acting, the athleticism, the being a larger-than-life character. Just being in the WWE was my only dream since that very moment I started watching it, and I was like, this is all I want. And I remember I was so obsessed with wrestling. Every single day, 24/7, I would daydream about it. During school, the only thing I could pay attention to was just WWE, was wrestling. And at the age of 16, I remember like emailing all these wrestling schools, and I was like, can you please train me like legit all over? Canada, New Jersey, Boston, New York, California. And they're like, no, you need to be 16, you need to be 18. And you know, I was 16, I'm like, Mom, can you fly me to New Jersey? There's a pro wrestling school that will train me at 16. She's like, absolutely not. What are you talking about? And I was like, okay, never mind. So when I turned 18, my mom moved to Boston. She finally got a job after 7 years of not having one. And we moved to Boston, and this wrestling school that I emailed when I was 13, Chaotic Wrestling at the time, you know, they were having this fantasy camp, and the person who impressed the coaches the most would get 3 months free training. And I saw this as like a do or die, you know, opportunity. I was like, oh my God, this is right around my birthday, right when I was turning 18. And I thought this was like the be all end all for me. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna train my butt off. I'm gonna work on promos. I'm gonna get into the best shape of my life. I was just a scrawny little kid, 99 pounds. And I remember training for like 2 months before that. And it was February 7th, I believe, that the fantasy camp was. So legit like a week after my birthday, 18th birthday. And I went there and I was like, I walked into that school, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Because I pictured everyone looking like John Cena or Batista, but it was all these guys who looked like backyard wrestlers, like Jeff Hardy, all in just Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy looking like people. So I'm like, you know what, maybe I have a chance to impress these people. And I was the only girl. And I did everything. I was running the ropes, getting bruised, bumping, and at the end of the camp, the coaches pulled me aside and they're like, we want you to start training with us. And it's at that moment I was like, oh my God, I am finally doing what I wanted to do since I was 10. And I remember walking out those doors into my mom's car and I just started crying. So I was like, this is it. You said this is what you wanted to do since you were 10. And now you're gonna live your dreams, so it's crazy. That's awesome. Bringing back memories, dude. Of course.
And so was your mum supportive at that point?
At that point, yeah, because she knew how much I loved wrestling. And when I started training, I told my mom, like, Mom, I've given my entire life to my brother, Joshua. This is the only thing I ever asked for. Just let me train to be a wrestler. Just let me do this. And she let me, because she saw how much I love this. She saw how much I talked about it, how much I would just give legit my whole childhood to studying and dreaming about being a wrestler.
It's an amazing story. Can I ask, how's your brother now? Is he?
He's doing good.
Yeah.
He's in a housing program now because when I got signed, my mom couldn't take care of him by herself, so, but he's doing really good. He's in a housing program, but he's doing really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's fair to say you are living your dreams.
I am.
You've had some incredible moments over the last couple of years. I mean, the story of you and Bayley in NXT, for example, incredible. I think I've said to you before, that match with Bayley was one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Thank you.
But this Sunday, we're going back to Boston, your hometown, and you're making history with Charlotte in the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match. How are you feeling? How are you feeling for Sunday? Is it nerves? Is it?
It's everything,
pressure?
And it's at the same time. It's like sometimes I sit back and think like, why am I not getting overly excited about this? But I feel like any time I actually sit back and think about everything I've done, I get so emotional about it because it's been such a long road and such a long journey. Because when I was 10, I wrote in my journal that I wanted to be the greatest women's wrestler of all time. I wrote in my journal that I wanted to change the definition of what it was to be a diva in the WWE. And now the fact that we're not divas and we're superstars and we're getting opportunities just like the guys. And now I'm here at 24 as the WWE Women's Champion in my hometown of Boston, making history. There's so many emotions. There's nerves, there's excitement, there's pressure. I'm terrified at the same time because it's not like anyone pulled me aside and they said, hey, do you feel comfortable doing a Hell in a Cell match? No, it was just 3 weeks ago on Raw where I just read a promo and it said, we're gonna do a Hell in a Cell match. And I was like, wait, what? Are you for real? Like, it's just, I feel like it still hasn't settled in. I mean, I see my poster. I got sent the poster of the Hell in a Cell. I go on the WWE Network, and that's the icon, the screensaver is Charlotte and I face for Hell in a Cell. And I'm doing interviews for it, and it still feel like it hasn't hit me. I think once I get to Boston and I walk into that arena where that's the arena I went to asking for tryouts all the time as being an extra, I feel like that's when it's gonna hit me. I feel like it hasn't hit me yet. I know it's a major, major deal. I know it's a great opportunity and a big opportunity, and we're making history, but I still don't feel like it's hit me. Or maybe I don't want it to hit me because I'm so nervous but excited. I don't know. I have so many feelings over it.
Yeah, I bet you do. And do you, talking about like how you found out about the match being made, I guess that is sort of testament to how quickly things move in WWE, and just the world is a bit whirlwind, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you ever get that time to sort of reflect on what you're doing, or is it just moving forward,
It's always moving forward. Because I never really have the time to sit back and think about everything we've done. Because again, if I do, I start crying. I'm like, what? To already be a part and have a WrestleMania match, my first year on the main roster, like, it gives me goosebumps. But if I actually sit down and dwell on it, I'm like, I'm gonna start crying. To main event a Raw, what? Like, it's those moments like my heart starts getting like pounding. To have a match with Bayley at NXT Brooklyn and fans vote it as the match of the year for women, it's so crazy what I've done so far in my career. It's legit everything I said I wanted to do since I was 10, and I'm making it happen for myself. It's like, if I think about it, I'm just like, what's next? I want more, but what's more can I do? I've already done so much, so I try not to dwell on it and try to think about it, just because I have such a huge passion for this. And I don't like my emotions taking over my mind, because it's so easily it can happen. And it's crazy to know what I've done so far, and I'm still making history just for like the Sunday being the first ever woman inside a Hell in a Cell. It's still mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's not settled in, because it's like, I've never done a match like this before. I've never used a chair, I never used a table, I've never been inside a cage match. So it's so unfamiliar to me that I don't feel like I'm 100% ready, because I've never done it. But I know being in that ring is my home, and it feels so right when I'm in that ring. But now having a cell over that ring, that's where it's so unfamiliar, where I'm just like, I don't know, I've never done this, am I gonna be good at it? That's what we're gonna find out.
So if you sort of describe the ring as your home,
Yeah.
do you feel like a sense of calm when you're between the ropes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The ring it's where I feel the most complete. I feel the most confident when I'm in the ring. You hand me a microphone, it's not the same feeling. But when that bell rings, and after the announcer says my name, there's this excitement where there is this 10-year-old girl inside who's like, you are doing everything you said you wanted to do. The ring is my home, and it feels so complete when I'm wrestling. It just feels like all the worries just go away, because that's what I was born to do. I was born to be a wrestler.
And
can we just grab that line about handing you the microphone once more? I think you just scuffed your microphone a little bit. But other than that was really good.
What's the question?
it was, do you feel at home in the ring?
Oh yeah, I do feel at home in the ring. You hand me a microphone, it's not the same feeling that I get when the bell rings and I'm wrestling. I just feel so more complete when I'm wrestling inside the ring.
Yeah. And you mentioned you wrote in your journal when you were 10. You actually wrote those things?
Yeah.
And now they're all happening?
Coming true.
And do you still have that journal?
Of course. And sometimes I look back at it when I have these moments where I feel like, where I just have moments where I'm like, am I doing everything I want? Am I on the right path? Am I on the right journey? And I go back to that journal, I'm like, girl, you are doing everything you have ever set your mind on. And it's so crazy to know that if you legit have a dream, and if you don't let anyone tell you you can't do it, and you push for it, and you put your heart, your soul, your everything into it, it can happen. You can make things happen if you have a dream, and you can just chase it.
What's been the biggest stumbling block on your journey to this massive success you're having now? What's been the sort of hardest part? Were there ever any days or weeks or months where you just thought, this is not going to happen, this is too hard, I need to try something else?
I don't know how to explain it. There has been moments where I'm just like, why do I do this? Why do I put so much stress and so much energy on this? I mean, I've been chasing this dream since I was 10, so there are times where I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I think it's mostly the pressure of trying to hold this women's wrestling name to this high standard, because there's so many people talking about it. And to have this huge hype after NXT Brooklyn, and people are like, Sasha Banks, you have to watch Sasha Banks. I think it was that hype that kind of just, my heart was just like, oh my God, I feel like I have to live up to this. But I finally just took a moment and been like, you know what? You're still only 24 and you just started. You just begun. So you don't need to live up to this hype or this pressure, because everything falls into place for a reason. And I feel like God puts me in situations for a reason, and He wouldn't put me in anything I couldn't handle. So I think it's those moments where I'm just like, okay, I hear the word pressure. But it's ultimately me putting pressure on myself, and just I need to be like, you know what? You got this, because you can only do what you do best. You can only be Sasha Banks in the ring. And that's the only thing I know how to do, is just be Sasha Banks. So ultimately, just not putting the pressure on myself, because that's what kills me ultimately sometimes, especially in these big matches. I'm like, you know, I feel like there's this hype that I have to live up to. But it's okay if not everyone likes one match. I'm going to have a million more. I wrestle every single week, and there's just more time for me to grow and to get better.
Yeah. You mentioned God. Are you a religious person?
I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
Did you come from a religious family?
My mom is a crazy Christian person, lady. She made us go to church 5 days a week.
5 days a week?
5 days a week.
Wow.
I would only get probably, Saturday and maybe Thursday off from going to church. Wow. But even then, she would make me go to a church dance practice, and she made me part of the church dance group, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so much. But it wasn't until I actually started training to be a wrestler, I'm like, Mom, I need weekends off so I can go do these shows. But for me, it was actually really hard, because I feel like religion was pushed on me so much, where it's like, okay, I get it, there's a God, there's this. But when I finally got signed to the WWE, I remember I kept praying. I was like, give me this opportunity, give me this tryout. And He made it all happen for me. So I'm not as crazy as my mom, but I definitely believe in God, and that He made all this happen for me.
So you feel like you're on a journey.
I am.
And a sort of a road that you were meant to be on.
Yes.
Let's talk a bit more about the actual Hell in a Cell match. Like, the way I see it, WWE is kind of like movies. And it sounds really barbaric, putting two women in a cage.
Right.
But I see it like the final act of an action movie, and it's like you and Charlotte's big final set piece that you would see in a James Bond film, and the crowd would leave the cinema talking about that amazing set piece. So that's how I see it. But still, there's risks and there's dangers in this kind of match. And also, I guess, a fan expectancy. I think they've got a level of expectations when it comes to these kind of matches.
Right.
How do you feel about the concept and what you girls will have to do on the night to send the crowd home happy?
Gosh, and see, that's where the pressure comes from.
Yeah.
Trying to think of if the fans are going to be happy, or they're going to, enjoy what we did and put our heart and souls into everything. But everything Charlotte and I do, we always give it 110%. We always want to go out there stealing the show, no matter what. We're going out there this Sunday to steal the show. We're not worried about, Roman and Rusev or Seth and Kevin Owens, because we know our journey and we know our story. And I feel like our fans are so invested in us to begin with that they kind of made this happen for us. Not that they demanded a Hell in a Cell, but I felt like it's the right time because of our story. This is really the final chapter, hopefully, you never know. Me and Charlotte have wrestled for the past 4 years, up and down Florida, all around the world, and it's kind of just this moment where, all right, where do we go from there? The biggest match you can probably have in WWE, the most dangerous match you can probably have in the WWE. It's a Hell in a Cell, and I think once that cell is over us and we are in Boston, my hometown, and I can already envision the fans just cheering, and I feel like everything happens for a reason, and it's just like, it is, like you say, the final chapter of a movie, and I don't want to think about expectations of what fans want. For me, it's just putting on a good match and telling a good story, and if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they still bought a ticket.
So that makes me want to ask, you say you don't really care about the fans' expectations, but also you say you're quite a sort of shy, private person. So because everything is so open now, and people can be so vocal on Twitter and horrible on Twitter and social media and stuff, do you let negative feedback affect you? Like, presumably, although, like, you must sort of care that they have a good time and they enjoy the match.
Of course. I mean, of course I want them to have a good time, and of course I want them leaving talking about us. When I first started in NXT, with the whole Twitter thing, I was like, dude, this stuff sucks. Yeah. Having people voice their opinion, if they think you're good or bad, it hurts. And then I just finally realized, like, who are these people? There are people that buy tickets to see you. There are people who buy our DVDs and come to the shows just to see you. And it's okay, because if you click on their profile, it's usually like a 10-year-old kid. And I remember being a kid, critiquing the wrestlers that I like to see. So sometimes it affects me, but a lot of times it doesn't, because people have opinions and it's okay. But I know who I am as a performer, and I know what I bring to the table, and I know what I can do when I step into that ring. So ultimately, their opinion does not affect me, because regardless, they're talking about me. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, love me, hate me, you're talking about me. You're invested in me. That's why you're mentioning my name. That's why my name's coming out of your mouth. You're going to see the match regardless. Whether you're against it or for it, you're watching it and you're talking about it. So I think that's what the ultimate thing is. It's like, okay, it could be negative, but out of how many followers I have, probably like 10's only negative. I have a lot of fans that are so supportive, and it's so crazy to see, being at the opposite side of the fence, where I was that girl asking wrestlers for an autograph after house shows, and now fans are doing it towards me. It's so crazy. It's like legit a dream come true. It's weird. And it still hasn't hit me that I'm a famous wrestler, And
do you like being a role model and being someone that young girls especially look up to?
I do, especially the young girls. When I see a young girl come up to me with my action figure, or dressed up like me, or tweet me a picture that, I inspire them because of something I said or something I did, that's not a job to me. That's just something that it's so empowering, that I can be a voice for a little girl who doesn't have a voice, and to be a role model. I think that's the biggest thing WWE has. It's how vocal we are on social media, and that our reach is just, you can tweet us like that and there's a possibility you can get a reply from your favorite wrestler. And just knowing that someone has a bad day, and if you just favorite something, it just makes them so happy. So it's crazy. Like, being a role model to little girls, it's definitely a dream come true, because I never really had that female role model growing up. To me, it was always Eddie Guerrero, and if we had Twitter back when I was younger, I can't imagine. He'd probably be like, block, this girl's a psycho, she's obsessed with me. So I can't imagine. I can't even imagine how all my favorite wrestlers growing up, if they had a Twitter, how would they feel.
It's a different world.
It's such a different world.
And what did you like about Eddie Guerrero?
Gosh, people always ask me that, and I don't know what the one thing it is. It's just, the moment I saw him, I was instantly hooked. He had charisma, he can talk, but ultimately he was truly an underdog, and he was always fighting, just fighting, and I always felt in my life I had to fight for something I believed in, and he always fought for something he believed in, and people didn't believe in him when he first started. They called him a vanilla midget. I thought, to me, I was just a small little girl who I didn't even think was pretty. I thought, how am I gonna make it to the WWE? I'm not a model. I don't look a certain way, but his story, it touched me so much, and watching him was like I don't know. I was just like, this is what I want. When I watched him perform, my heart was just so happy, and I was like, you know, I just want to be like him. I want to be like him when I grow up.
And you said you can't put your finger on why you...
It was him.
Him, and also just why you fell in love with WWE. But because one thing I'm really interested in is sort of exploring why it is so popular. Because a lot of people still don't quite understand it.
Right.
But what did draw you in when you were a 10-year-old girl? What was there sort of one aspect of it that you loved? Was it the men? Was it the women? How did you feel when you watched it?
I just felt like I was like really confused. I was like, what is this? There's fighting going on, yet there's acting. Is this real? Is this fake? What is this? They're doing all these crazy moves. I can't tell you what it was. I think it's just a combination of everything.
So you were quite intrigued when you
I was
first
intrigued.
saw it.
I was like, this is so interesting to me. It's like a play live every single week. It's like a soap opera. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. That's why you have to tune in. Like, who's going to marry who? Who's going to fight who? Who's going to stab someone in the back? It's just like this story that just keeps going on every single week, and you're just hooked. And you're like, what's going to happen? I don't know.
And talk to me quickly about Charlotte and your relationship with her.
Nope. I don't know. What do you want me to say about her?
Well, talk to me about your chemistry with Charlotte. You've had a lot of matches, none bigger than the one this weekend. But why is there can you explain the spark that there is between you two? Because there's real chemistry between you two, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, and it's crazy because, you know, I feel like I have chemistry with Bayley. You know, there's so many people I feel like I have chemistry with, but ultimately it's always Charlotte and I who always end up going at it. It's just this story that never ends. There's always like another chapter that's missing, and someone found the page, and it just keeps continuing. But it all started when I started in NXT, and she just started a month probably ahead of me. And during practice, we locked up with each other. And I remember Sarah was like, ooh, Sarah Del Rose, she's like, that was a good lockup. I'm like, that was a good lockup. And I think that from that very moment, we were always competitive with each other. And we started out as really good friends, and all over, you know, Florida and NXT, we were just tag team partners. And we were just these plain baby faces who were not given the opportunity and just was told we were good hands to put over other people. And I remember how much that hurt me. I was like, I did not come here to be a good hand. I did not come here to be a second fiddle and just to put someone else over. And she's like, I'm not here to do that either. And we were such good friends at the time, and it wasn't really till she got the opportunity before me to go after the NXT Women's Championship. And I was like, why? What the? I train way harder than her. I show up always on time. I stay late. I go to extra practice. I do extra promos. So why is it her? And in her mind, she's like, well, I train harder in the gym. I do this, X, Y, Z. So of course it should be me. And it instantly just kind of sparked this flame where we just became so competitive with each other, because my ultimate goal is to be the very best. And her goal is to have people say that she's the best. And it's just this rivalry that keeps on going and going. And we've had so many matches where people are like, that was the best women's match I've ever seen. No, that was the best women's match I've ever seen. No, the following month, that's the best women's match I've ever seen from Charlotte and Sasha. And it's just like, it's just nonstop competitiveness. So I think this Hell in a Cell is finally the last straw where people are going to see who truly is the best in the ring, and that's me. She's second, maybe third after Bayley. We'll see.
Okay. And are you going to have, and maybe Charlotte as well, are you guys going to have family in the arena? Do you know?
Yeah, my mom and my brother is going to be there. But I don't think my brother is going to stay all the way, because I don't want him seeing this type of match for me. For me, it makes me sad. I don't want him seeing his sister going through a cage. So I will see him earlier, and then he'll come to Raw, and I think that's better. for him, especially with someone with disability. I just don't know if he's going to understand his sister getting hurt.
Okay.
The possibility. So my mom will be there. A lot of my family will be there. People I train with from New England are going to be there. So that makes me happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how old is your brother now?
He is 22.
22.
Yeah.
And so is he a fan?
He's a huge fan.
Okay.
But he likes it when I lose.
He likes when you lose?
Yeah, he loves it when I lose. He
Oh my
thinks
God.
it's so funny. So, you know, brother and sister rivalry.
And is your mum now a fan?
Huge fan.
Yeah.
She texts me every week after Raw, tells me how good I done, and of everything. She's so annoying with that too. It's like, oh, can you sign an autograph for this person, or can you talk to this person? And I'm like, Mom, I'm busy, but thank you. But she's such a huge fan. It's so crazy to see from her telling me to turn off WWE to wanting to come to all my big events and wearing my shirt every time I'm there. It's insane. She's a huge fan. She's so proud,
isn't she?
Probably.
Awesome. And are you nervous at all about getting hurt on Sunday?
I am. I think that's why I'm the most nervous, just because I'm small. I'm little. I keep imagining what Charlotte's going to do to me, and I'm just like, we're supposed to go on tour on Tuesday for 2 weeks, and all I can think about is just being so sore wrestling every day for the next 2 weeks. But at the same time, I'm preparing my mind for it because it's such a big opportunity, and you know, I can't say no to this. This is opening the doors for so many great future opportunities, and if we prove to the world that we can do this, we can show the world that we can do anything. So.
Awesome. If you don't want to talk about this, it's absolutely fine.
Okay.
But I noticed you didn't really talk about your dad. Was your dad around when you were younger?
What the? Do I want to talk about him? He wasn't around. I don't know. Yeah, my mom was just a single parent, and my dad was never around. He is the uncle of Snoop Dogg, and he never helped with anything, especially trying to help with the son with disability. He never gave money. He never helped us with nothing. So that's why I don't talk about him. He was never there in my life, and now he's trying to come in my life because he was such a big wrestling fan. He's like, oh my gosh, you did it. But to me, you didn't support me since day one. You're not in my life, so it's just not there.
Do you think that's part of your love of kind of watching these larger-than-life kind of
guys?
Yeah,
Ooh, I don't know.
Sort of superheroes. Do you know what I mean? Like
Is
you
this
mentioned
therapy?
superheroes and stuff.
What the?
Sorry.
Maybe.
I'm just quite interested in
I don't
that,
know.
though. I just thought about that.
That definitely could be something. Why I love, I don't know, probably. To be honest, if we really want to sit back and talk about it, I never had like a male figure in my life, and I feel like wrestling was that for me. But I never had a female role model in my life either. My mom was always trying to do something to, I don't know, help with my brother, but she wasn't around. I felt like I was the mom to my brother, always taking care of him. And I really I always taught myself. I taught myself how to be respectful and, you know, have manners, and I wanted the same for my brother because I knew how hard it was going to be for him in this world. It was not easy. He's been through so much. He's such a strong boy, he's so special, and he's my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Finally, what was my final question?
I don't know. You went from dad to
it was really
our
simple.
wrestlers
It was
are
just
dad.
So looking beyond Sunday, what's next for you, do you think? Because you're 24, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you've achieved so much. Where do you go from here? What's next on the horizon for you?
Main eventing WrestleMania. That's the next dream and goal. That's the big dream and goal. But I have little goals in between. You know, wrestling in Japan, I haven't done that yet. I don't know, I feel like I always want more, and I think that that comes from not sitting back and thinking about everything you've done. Because if you do, then I'm like, dude, I'm all set. I've done it all. But I just, there's this feel in my heart where I feel like I need more. I'm not satisfied. I want to be known as the first ever to do this and the first ever to do that. And if I sit back and think, I've done a lot of first evers. And that's so mind-blowing. I can't believe it. So maybe like little things of like being a tag team with Bayley, that would be fun. And, you know, being a Raw GM, who knows, that would be cool. But WrestleMania and main eventing WrestleMania is my ultimate goal before I leave.
So surely Orlando,
yeah,
home of NXT, you, Charlotte, Becky and Bayley, Fatal 4-Way? Come on. You've thought about that, you must have done.
I didn't think about for this one, I just wanted
It's
me
Orlando,
versus Bayley.
home of NXT.
That actually,
Come on.
you know, that would be actually really cool.
Need to pitch that to Vince, I think.
Maybe. I think so, just because I remember at 16, I found out Snoop Dogg was going to be part of WrestleMania 24, which was in Orlando.
Yeah.
And he was part of the, what was it, a Playboy Battle Royal? And he went out right after Ric Flair. So after Ric Flair's retirement, Ric Flair is coming back, and I'm backstage and I'm watching it. And Charlotte's backstage too. I was 16.
Of course.
Isn't that, it's so weird. And now we're here going to this year's WrestleMania in Orlando, home of NXT, the Four Horsewomen. I think that would be a great match for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. It's
Definitely
full
try and
circle.
make that happen.
Yeah.
Definitely try and make that happen. You just mentioned the Playboy Bunnies match with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
There's been a huge change, obviously. The women are no longer referred to as divas. You're now WWE superstars. What does just that change mean to you personally?
To me, that was the ultimate dream that I never thought would actually happen. Like I said, I wrote in my notebook, I wanted to change the definition of what it was to be a diva. And the fact that we're not divas anymore, that's so huge, because in my mind, I always thought they were going to change the title one day. I thought, there's no way they can keep going with that butterfly title. There's no way. But for them to change a whole division, a whole brand, when Stephanie told us that, I believe it was in Brooklyn before WrestleMania, I remember I just burst in tears because I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. And it tells you how hard we've worked to show WWE and the world and the fans that we can be on the equal playing field as the guys. We don't need this little box of being divas or even just women. We're superstars, just like the guys. We're just showing the guys that we can do it just like them, but even better. And hopefully one day we don't even have to be like women's wrestling. We can just be like, it's wrestling. Equal playing field, superstars, Sasha Banks, John Cena, Seth Rollins, just all in the same, this box, not women's wrestler, superstar, Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks, the superstar.
Nice.
Yeah.
And finally, if you could choose one word to describe how you're feeling about Sunday, what would the word be?
Determined.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Of course.
That was great.
Oh.
Thank you.
Back bump.